Sick Harrison Price for Thursday, February 26, 2026. You like the symmetry there? Okay. We're a presentation of Bet365.
Oh, thanks.
Good.
Yeah.
Got the mic going there. Start with our Yellow Dog poll question.
So adversarial right off the get-go here.
It's a feisty time of year. Our Yellow Dog poll question is a second-round pick. Good return for Tyler Myers. You can vote yes. You can vote no. Do so at the Sick Harrison Price X and YouTube channels. That is the report from the fourth period's David Pagnotta, who will join our show a little later on. The Detroit Red Wings have offered a second-round pick for Tyler Myers. We believe it's just a second-round pick in isolation. We don't know if it's the 2026 second-round pick, which the Red Wings own. They do not own their 2027 second, so maybe 2028, but you have a feeling the Canucks want the immediacy of that 2026 second-round pick. And because Tyler Myers has a full no-move clause, he has the right to accept or veto this trade. And the word is from Pagnotta and others that they're waiting to see, would there be a more desirable location? Does somebody step up and beat that offer from a Canucks perspective? But Myers for a second, Blake, where are you at?
Well, remember, with that 1 year remaining, from Tyler Myers' perspective, if he's a UFA to be, I don't think he's got as many qualms about where he goes. Everybody, numerous occasions you see NHL players traded as UFAs to be. They don't even bother moving the family. They just commute, and the family stays put, and they come back and see them.
They live in a hotel for however long they're still involved in the Stanley Cup
But
playoffs.
Knowing there's more ahead, that's where Tyler Myers' decision carries a lot more weight for him.
And, of course, a full-time British Columbia now, Vancouver in the hockey season, Kelowna in the off-season.
So it's funny, hey, the arc of Tyler Myers in the public opinion.
We have some fan missives on that coming up.
Like he was so maligned early on.
So many lives here.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The back half of his big contract, he redeemed himself.
After being not worth what they paid for him on the front end.
And then since then, it's been a mixed bag, sort of almost monthly for Tyler Myers. But for the whole, Matt, this has been a pretty down year for Tyler Myers.
And we'll get to that.
It is a sign of perhaps things to come. I don't think the Canucks necessarily they'll miss his leadership, but I don't think they'll miss him on the ice going forward. And you know what? Other NHL teams know the stats too. They've also got access to the data. A second-round pick is just fine for Tyler Myers.
I voted yes as well. Now, you can find a comparable with former Canuck Luke Schenn, who at one point went for a second and fourth at the deadline. Big right shot defenseman with the sort of size, and of course, nobody has Tyler Myers' size in the NHL. Tend to be coveted commodities at the trade deadline. I think you could argue that in a seller's market, he's worth more than a second, that he may even be worth more than a second and a fourth, to use that Schenn comparable. But the no-move clause does limit the marketplace and the return, right? Like the Vancouver Canucks are not dealing with the full suite of playoff contending teams, both those who are above the bar and below the bar right now. They know they are dealing with a limited marketplace of teams where Myers would accept a trade or might accept a trade, not to the full complement, that would be interested in adding a big right shot defenseman for the playoffs. So I voted yes as well, Blake. Myers, we learned yesterday afternoon, would be scratched from the Canucks game against Winnipeg for what they called roster management reasons. It's basically to protect the asset, make sure he does not get hurt in that game when you are nearing or have a deal agreed to. He took one last pregame warm-up last night, last twirl with his teammates, plus a chin. Well, one last twirl with his teammates, maybe, plus a chance for his family to see him in the Canucks jersey one last time, maybe. Again, now as full-time general managers. Thomas Drance reported that Connor Garland made sure to engage his little guy watching from the stands, even went so far as to call a penalty on Papa because apparently the little guy loves him some referees. So good reporting. Very cute.
And goodness knows, the little guy has seen his dad in the penalty box. Tyler Miners.
Yeah, exactly. You can see that dynamic at home, with a little one. Yeah, Dad, why are you always in the penalty box? Dad, why are you so bad? Do I go to the penalty box? Here's Adam Foote, Canucks head coach, on why Myers took warm-up.
We were caught in that spot. When I talked to Tyler after the skate this morning, we had a great conversation. He was awesome about it, and we just, obviously you just have to be very transparent, tell the truth, and this is the way it is. And he understood, and I'm like, I need you for warm-up. I need you to prepare in case something happens. And where we were with, our roster, and he was a true pro and said, yeah, I'll be ready. So, he's a good human, right? So he's a pro for me to be around till the end and, see what happens.
Spot on, Coach. Good human, good pro. We've known that forever about Tyler Myers. He has been the conscience of that room. Rick Tocchet used to say he basically worked as an extension of the coaching staff in terms of messaging to the room. You brought it up, Blake, and it's not wrong. You've got the stats here in terms of where he ranks in the National Hockey League this year in terms of being on the ice for goals. Only Jackson Lacombe in Anaheim has been on the ice for more goals against this season. It's 90 for Myers. It's 92
but the column to the left is more important. Jackson Lacombe balances out that leakage with 85 goals for, and Tyler Myers is not on the ice for many goals.
It's a shockingly low total of 33. Now, some context there. A lot of that has to do with the failure of his teammates to score goals, not to mention the failure of his teammates around him defensively. Also, this list tends to have some bigger name defensemen on it because they play the heavy minutes and thus more opportunity to be on the ice for goals against. Here's the shorthanded look. Again, he is second in the league in goals against allowed with 32 while shorthanded. Some similar names there, and sadly Marcus Pettersson is on that list as well if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan. Here's the J-Fresh hockey card, and look, Tyler Myers is amongst a lot of Vancouver Canucks players who have not gotten Adam Foote's defensive system down pat this year. You can take a look at the J-Fresh hockey card, a 24% projected WAR. The even strength defensive percentage is reasonably good, 57%, right?
And last year even better. You can see he's plummeted this year. Look at last year's stats, though, under Tocchet, and it's a lot better.
Right. And so on a better team with a defensive system that suits him better, you can see Tyler Myers still being an asset here at age 35 in what is left of his National Hockey League career. As Blake mentioned, he's got this year and next year on his contract. Now 36 now, Tyler Myers. Now there is, it turned 36 earlier this month, actually, February 1st. Now, Rob Williams writes 31st all-time in games played with 488. And I guess that, we know he's the 1,000-game guy, but a chance to play 500 games with the Vancouver Canucks, which, of course, would not be the case if he accepts this trade. 11th amongst defensemen all-time in regular season games for the Vancouver Canucks. He has had a bid here, to say the least.
And he sort of feels like he is a Vancouver Canuck more than
a Buffalo Sabre or a Winnipeg Jet. Now, you want to call their trophy, of course, NHL Rookie of the Year with the Buffalo Sabres.
One more season here than in Buffalo, 488 games to 365. So but he's had 3 good tenures. He was 5 years in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So.
And, of course, was traded for his teammate Evander Kane in that Sabres Jets swap once upon a time. The other thing to say about Myers, if this is the end, and particularly if the family continues to live in Kelowna, and if not Vancouver as well, can you absolutely see him as being a big part of the Canucks alumni in retirement going forward, right?
Yeah, and maybe getting involved in coaching or scouting as well. Like he's sort of got that feel to him. So I wouldn't put it past him being a part of the Canucks organization again.
Yeah, and we mentioned his little guy. We've long known Tyler and his wife have been very upfront about this. There are specific medical needs for the little one, and so that, I think, is a big part of the consideration here when he thinks about the Detroit Red Wings is, okay, if my family does come, what is the medical situation like for my child? Another big thing with NHL families, Andy Riley taught me this, the father of Morgan Riley. You may remember, Blake, Andy was caught at the draft with a big fist pump when Morgan was drafted to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I texted him later that day or the next day. I was like, what was with the fist bump? And he goes, the only thing his mother and I were hoping for was that he went to a city where there's a daily direct flight, where we could wake up in the morning, get on a plane, and be in his hometown city where we could watch him play that night. So you do wonder whether that's the case, and Blake looked it up. No direct flights to Detroit in hockey season. No. Outside of hockey season, there is.
The other possibility here, other teams have been mentioned, and his mom lives in Houston still.
That's right.
He's born in Houston, I believe.
That is correct. The Myers story is his father was involved in the oil industry, Albertan. Family relocated to Texas. Tyler was born there. He did choose to play for Canada, was a Canadian World Junior. I can remember talking to his dad in the build-up to that tournament. It was, oh, no, we are Canadians. We may live in the United States, but we are Canadians. His parents split in Texas. His mom remarried, and his brother plays NBA basketball for the Philadelphia 76ers, Quentin Grimes. So. Yeah. And so, Tyler's actually taller than his NBA-playing brother.
So we'll see. He may get more enticed if there's a Dallas deal that's enticing on the table.
And the Stars are mentioned, have been mentioned for some time here, as one of 6 teams that we know of that are actively shopping for right-shot defensemen. San Jose Sharks, Utah Mammoth, Buffalo Sabres, Boston Bruins, also there alongside the Detroit Red Wings. Now, not all of those teams are involved on Tyler Myers. More on this in a bit with David Pagnotta. But those were the teams that were known to insiders to be shopping right-shot defensemen. It will be more than that, to be sure, for the deadline. But we'll see, because the situation now for Tyler Myers is, okay, maybe Detroit isn't a preferred destination, but he also has to consider the alternative, because on July 1st, his full no-move clause turns into a 12-team no-trade list. And it is conceivable that he could be dealt to a team that's even less desirable than Detroit come July 1st. Now, it's possible that between now and July 1st, another team steps up, either here over the next week before the NHL trade deadline or in the offseason. That is a more amenable location to Myers, in which case he'll have done well to say no to this trade. But if he says no here and he gets to July 1st as a Vancouver Canuck, they can then deal him to one of 19 places in the National Hockey League, and some of them may be a lot less desirable to him than Detroit. Who knows?
Who knows? The other thing he wants to experience in the next, 18 months, 15 months of his career is winning. And the Wings are good, but they're not great. They're probably in the playoffs this year, but they're not guaranteed. They are, depending on how you want to look at the Red Wings, they're either second in their division or they're the first wild card spot. So he's got to make that decision. Am I going to upend my family here for an okay chance at advancement in the Stanley Cup Finals?
Well,
but I'm probably not winning
this
a cup.
year, Blake. But it's a team in ascension,
it
right?
is.
And so he would be there next year. The other thing
Are you ready to prognosticate that they're a contender next year? I'm not ready to go there.
I am ready to say that I think Detroit is going to be a perennial playoff team here, yes.
That's fair. That's a different question, though.
The other thing you got to look at here, the slotting. And look, Simon Edvinsson is one of the great young defensemen in this league and By the way, if he does wind up in Detroit, Blake, and you are looking at 6'6", 210 pounds Simon or Simone Edvinsson and Tyler Myers. Oh, sorry, Moritz Seider. I meant Moritz Seider.
Yeah.
Sorry, Moritz Seider on the right side. The huge German, Moritz Seider, 6'3", 205, and then Tyler Myers at 6'8", whatever he weighs these days.
But
with Edvinsson on the other side at 6'6".
Yeah.
I mean, wingspan, pterodactyls on that blue line. But the slotting here, he's not going to play as much as Seider, of course. That's your first pair right side defenseman. He's the great young defenseman in the league. Then they have Axel Sandin Pellikka, who's, of course, the offensive guy, and was selected with that first-round pick the Vancouver Canucks gave Detroit in the Philip Hronek trade. So you're looking at a scenario, Blake, where he's probably going to play second pair, unless they need a goal, in which case I think Sandin Pellikka will get more ice time. Is that not sort of the perfect role for Tyler Myers right now in his career?
Yeah.
You're not going to be expected to log the heaviest minutes and the biggest defensive matchups. You are going to get your share of those because of where you're going to slot in. You're not going to be expected to be a big part of the offensive attack, which at this point in his career is appropriate. So it's a great hockey town, as you know. It's one of the best U.S. hockey markets, right? So there's a lot of attractiveness to Detroit, even if there are some drawbacks.
I'm attracted to lime margaritas. Who isn't? Is there a drink that is more universally liked than the lime margarita?
So I don't even drink margaritas, but we go to Mexico and we're on the beach.
Guess
what are you having? Yeah.
You're having at least one lime margarita, and Yellowknot's got a beauty of one. The Hombre Lime Margarita. Whether you're on beach or you're on your couch, you turn your couch into a beach the minute you crack open an Hombre Lime Margarita. So go check it out. Brings the smell of the seawater or saltwater waves and the sound of palm trees blowing in the wind with every sip. Amazingly refreshing, incredibly delicious. Check it out. The Hombre Lime Margarita from Yellow Dog.
Let's get to our top story, brought to you by Pacific Blue Cross. And so it begins, the dismantling and rebuilding of the Vancouver Canucks, or at least so we think. We mentioned that Myers could veto this trade, and you tell me Elliot Friedman has tweeted on this?
It's unlikely that Tyler Myers waives.
Friedman saying unlikely. Okay. This would, of course, represent the first true rebuild trade of the Vancouver Canucks. Now, you could argue Quinn Hughes, of course. He had term left on his contract. But when it was clear he did not see a future here in Vancouver, that was the deal they had to make. Kiefer Sherwood was an unrestricted free agent. Myers is that veteran with term that we talked about. And for many, we thought it would be a winger like a Jake DeBrusk, like a Connor Garland, who has no trade protection. I know a lot of fans are really dismayed at the season that Elias Pettersson is having and would just as soon have him out. Not many thought Myers, although I have to give Ben Kuzma the province credit because it was last month that Kuz went to him and asked him about all this, and Myers opened the door in that conversation to a deal, right. If you remember. He mentioned that he knew he was getting close to the end of the line, a chance again to compete for the Stanley Cup.
I think we're going to be having those conversations.
That's right. So he prognosticated this, and if this trade go down, or if another team steps up here and beats the Detroit offer, and it's a place that Myers is willing to go to, that would represent the first true, quote, rebuild trade for the Vancouver Canucks. What does he mean to that room? Well, let's hear from Yves Buium, young defenseman who, of course, has now played several months alongside Myers after coming over from Minnesota in the Hughes trade, saying in McIntyre, quote, "I don't know how any of this works, but I love him. He's been amazing to me since the first day, texting me, making me feel comfortable. Little things on the ice systems speaks volumes to who he is."
And that's why it's as rebuildy a move as you say, despite the fact he's only got 1 year left at $3 million, is he's the kind of guy that an old school management group could say, oh, no, we need this guy in the room. He's so good with all the young players. He's the perfect guy to shepherd us to the next place we want to be. Can't you see them saying that?
Yep.
And the fact that they're just surveying the market and going, yeah, but we can get an asset for him.
Yeah.
And it's more worthwhile to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's a tough decision.
Oh, a second-round pick. Like, if it was a later-round pick.
Yeah, fifth rounder, nah.
I mean, this has a chance to be a top 50 pick, top 55 pick. This is viewed as a reasonably good draft. We know where the Canucks are at, so I think you have to again, if he doesn't have trade protection, I think this return is light. But because he's got trade protection and has to accept, you're not dealing with a big marketplace. You have to get what the market will bear. Few other things here wanted to get to. I like this tweet from Canucks fan Arpon. Tyler Myers walked into Vancouver with a fan base that was very skeptical due to his contract. Myers was earmarked to be a whipping boy for a fan base that loves whipping boys. Over time, he turned most skeptics into fans. This in itself is a large accomplishment. Very well put.
And a lot of that was off the ice. Like, he definitely improved on the ice, and that certainly helped.
Mm-hmm.
But this is also another example of don't fear the media. Don't try to form fights with the media. You know, just
he was
play
just
a little ball.
Mature professional in every
just
sense
a human
of
being.
the word.
Just a human being.
And more often than not, he would take on and try and tamp down the more explosive or spicy or controversial storylines that were out there, right? There were countless examples of Tyler Myers getting asked a question about, Petey Miller and him taking it. And
he wasn't he wasn't a clip machine. Like, this is not Kevin BX in the room that we're talking about. He's just a calm, cool presence.
He was thoughtful and often put a positive spin on some very difficult matters. And boy, did he see some shit in his tenure as a Vancouver Canucks defenseman.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he was there in the Benning era when Louis Eriksson is making $6 million to do SFA up on right wing. He's there in the Benning era when all these veterans are getting these multi-year big money contracts and are doing nothing. He's there in the Benning era. I mean, he exists in the through a couple of coaches in the Benning era, of course, Willie Desjardins and Travis Green.
Mm-hmm.
He then sits there and watches his captain, Bo Horvat, get traded. He watches the ascension of Quinn Hughes as captain, and he get traded as well. He sees the Miller-Pettersson feud straight up. He sees Rick Tocchet accept the job, then quit on the Canucks. Like, wow. He's lived 1,000 NHL lifetimes here in Vancouver.
He has.
Now, let me ask you this. You've traded your captain, Quinn Hughes. You traded a guy who led by example with his effort, his spirit, his energy, his pugnacity in Kiefer Sherwood, who actually was finding his voice too this year. And now you may trade the team conscience in Tyler Myers. Who stays amongst the vets if Myers goes? Is it Teddy Blueger? We had talked about this a couple of weeks ago when Teddy really started to have some pointed comments coming after losses. You know, some sharp criticisms of what was going on in terms of losing, being accepting, and making mistakes, and young guys having to be ready. And I'm not sure that all those comments would have landed with Rutherford Alvin and Adam Foote. Maybe they were a little too sharp. Maybe they took them personally. Maybe they feel like Teddy's squawking a little too much. But we all, fans and media, went, absolutely, Teddy. You're a made enough NHL man to be saying these things. Blueger tells Ian McIntyre he wants to stay. He's shown leadership. Could he be the new conscience in that room?
Yeah.
UFA to B.
Yeah, that's the
will
thing.
fetch you a middle round pick. I mean, if he fetches you is the third really the barometer here? If you get a third for Teddy, you move him on. But if it's not quite a third, you think about bringing him back, because we know they're going to keep veterans. I know some of you want the full teardown rebuild. It's not happening. There will be some veterans that will be kept here.
I mean, I think
Teddy would be low cost.
You can go this far, too. I think Teddy Blueger's the best forward on the ice most nights these days.
Holy cow, he's played very well.
What the hell do you say about that?
Yeah.
Like great. Is that the old good for Teddy Blueger, bad on the rest of you?
It is, but at a position where they're not strong, right? Center ice.
Like, he's so smart. Like, I really, and we've talked about this again. I know it doesn't usually happen. I would make a more concerted effort try to trade him for a third, but then tell him on the way out the door, I swear to God, we are coming at you. We're giving you a raise next year. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah. Is that a 2-year deal? He'll be 32 this summer.
Yeah.
They
2-year deal.
He just finished a 2-year
But
deal. He's finishing a 2-year
cap
deal.
hit is neither here nor there for you on Teddy Blueger next year. You don't care what your cap hit is on.
No. Fair. You can even give him a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he told Sportsnet, quote, "My wife and I have talked about it, so we're at peace with whatever happens. We'd love to stay. We love the city. But if something happens, hopefully you're going to a playoff team that has a chance to go on a run." He just seems to me, Teddy Blueger, like a thoroughly decent fellow with a good head on his shoulders, who's thoughtful, who doesn't get too high or doesn't get too low, knows when to pick his spots.
Yeah.
Now, as mentioned, we're going to have David Pagnotta coming up here. He is also busy reporting on Jake DeBrusk and has identified the Bruins, Kraken, and Red Wings among the teams believed to have some interest in the Canucks winger. He's got full trade protection, but is willing to waive it for a change of scenery. Now, we discussed Boston yesterday, from whence he came. Red Wings, that's interesting. A package deal to be made. I mentioned Seattle being interesting yesterday, and I said it because they need to add star power. They've never really had star power. They're on a playoff position. You have a younger, more aggressive general manager in Botterill than Stan Pat Ron Francis. You need to re-engage that market, which really, outside of that one playoff appearance, hasn't had any kind of love affair with NHL hockey just yet. Now, it may well be that the Kraken are big game hunting for one of those St. Louis Blues players or some of the bigger names that are out there on the market. Could you see Jake DeBrusk being a fallback position for Seattle? Seattle has young players, they have prospects, and they have draft picks. They have the full cash of what you need to go on out and get these sorts of players.
I mean, that may be true, but Matt, I would just say he is what Seattle already has.
That is fair.
Like, that is not the droid you're looking for. Mm-hmm. You need to consolidate some of the young players that you have and get a cornerstone player. But they can spend their capital.
Yeah, I mean, it's harder to
it.
do at the deadline to get a cornerstone
no,
player.
It doesn't happen.
We talked about Robert Thomas yesterday out of St. Louis, that if you do believe he is a number one centerman, and for many he would absolutely qualify as an NHL number one centerman, then those players do not come available for trade with term remaining, as Thomas has all that often. And really, Thomas's salary could look pretty good here as the salary cap continues to rise. So do you make a courage of your conviction trade where you move Shane Wright plus and get Robert Thomas? St. Louis, as we mentioned yesterday, is a team to watch here. They are peddling quite a lot, and particularly players with term. Thomas at 8.125, Blake, until 2031 or through 2030-31. So that's 5 more years of Thomas on a very good number. If you still think he's a number one set, just 26 years old. They're peddling Jordan Kyrie's on the same cap hit. Braden Shen's available there, now older player, so not the droid you're looking for, as you say, but Justin Falk, Bennington, all of the guys that you know as core St. Louis Blues over the years are available. They're going with a youth movement there under Doug Armstrong. So that's a team to watch. We talked about Nashville being a team to watch as well as the deadline gets closer. It's a week from tomorrow. The DFO trade board is up, dailyfaceoff.com. Matt Larkin is busy there, and he just doesn't list guys with a number. He's got the obvious candidates, the keep an eye on, the secondary market. That's how he's structured his trade board. I wanted to throw this at you as well. Our friends over at AFP Analytics, this is the group that does all the contract projections for free agents in the summer, term length, value, based on comparables, based on the cap going up, percentage of the cap, all the things that go into identifying and agreeing on prices in the National Hockey League. Well, they are trying their hand at trade deadline proposals, and they're posting a series of these who says no structure poll questions. Yesterday, Connor Garland to the LA Kings for Warren Fogle, Wojtek Sihar, and a 2026 first-round pick. We had talked about Fogle, looking for a change of scenery there in LA. Got 1 year left. They would view him as bad or undesirable money, but in Vancouver, he'd help fill the bill as you're going through your rebuild. You got to get to the floor. You know you're going to play some veterans. Sihar is a Czech winger playing for the Kelowna Rockets. He was the 59th pick, a second rounder in the draft last year. He was extraordinary at the World Juniors. 12 points in 7 games for Czechia. He was 4th in the tournament. He outscored Ivar Stenberg, and in fact, he outscored everyone except for the 3 top Canadian scores. He outscored Porter Martone in the tournament. Hasn't been as good at the junior level, 6 goals, 18 points in 21 games, but he's young. Turns 19 at the end of next month. And the Kings' first-round pick is also a desirable asset.
I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. I think
It is for me, too.
I voted that the Kings say no to that. So, yeah. I think that's – I mean –
a lesser prospect or a second-round pick in that, or a second round not enough?
That's not enough. I think what you're hoping is – I mean, I think if it's Fogle in a first, do you say no to that?
Where would their pick be right now, LA?
And that's the thing. LA's got the potential to fall here.
Yeah.
Like they are right now 23rd in the league. And like
the LA pick is 9th right now. Oh, God, yes. God, yes. I didn't realize it was that high. Holy cow. LA's that bad?
Yeah. Whoa. They're 23rd in the league, and they're
honestly, I'm not even sure
they wouldn't even do that. No. Sihar and Fogle would probably be
exactly
the better.
Which I would say no to.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they had fallen that far, the Kings.
Lost 3 in a row.
Yeah. What's up with insurance, Blake?
Well,
you go on the road, you need insurance. He's about to start his road tripping.
It's true.
Calling games for Apple. MLS.
No matter where you go, you want to make sure you got travel insurance. Pacific Blue Cross provides the best, and they want you to have it when they send you on a Canucks ultimate road trip. Flights, hotel, lower bowl tickets, and more. Doesn't that sound like fun? Who's saying no to a trip these days? And the Canucks could be young and fun here in the waning weeks of the year. No purchase necessary. Contest ends February 28th. Enter now at pacificbluecross.ca/Canucks. February 28th, folks. 3 days left.
2 days.
Yes.
Get on it.
Get to it.
As for the game last night, Canucks fall 3-2 in overtime to the Winnipeg Jets. Still just 6 wins in 28 games on home ice this year.
Still just 2 goals.
Drew O'Connor scores his 14th goal of the season. He leads all active Vancouver Canucks. He is 3 behind Kiefer Sherwood since departed.
Available to your highest bidder.
Elias Pettersson and Jake DeBrusk with 13 goals. Blake, is anybody scoring 20 goals for the Vancouver Canucks this year?
Yeah, somebody will.
You think O'Connor gets 6 more?
Somebody will.
You think Petey or DeBrusk gets 7 more? 24 games left.
God damn, maybe not.
So, clip it.
Yeah.
24 games left. So 7 goals in 27 games is like a 30-goal pace. One of these guys has to get on a 30-goal pace to get to 20.
So I'll say this. Like, there was still no bottom line last night.
O'Connor would have to score at a 20-goal pace to get to 20.
But there were moments where they looked better. Like Marco Rossi should have had 1 or 2 last night. You know, like there was better moments last night. And there's been a lot of games where they've had 0 moments, Matt. So there is the potential they score couple of more goals than they have.
Evander Kane gets his 10th, so he reaches double figures. This guy once told me that'll unlock his trademark.
Available to the highest bidder.
Many believe he is a fallback option. Will go late in the hours before the deadline after people strike out with more desirable wingers. Brock Besser, an assist coming back after that concussion and missing 5 games. Still want to see more in Nikita Tolopilo. His 25 saves last night for the big Belarusian. And I think that's got to be a project in what's left of this season as well. See what you have as an NHL netminder.
I think it will be.
In big Nikita. Yep.
But it was a good brochure game. 2 guys that scored, eminently available via trade if you so choose.
I like that term, brochure game.
Yeah, it's on the front page. And Blueger played a nice detail-oriented game as well. Again, available. Highest bidder.
So for our younger viewers and listeners, brochures were like these pamphlets, these itty-bitty fold away.
You see them on the ferry still. They're still on the ferry.
That's right. They're
That big
still on the
wall
ferry.
on the
big
ferry.
wall.
Yeah.
Hotels used to have a wall of them.
Yeah.
You could pick them up.
Honey, a zip line.
Oh, my parents were once very big on brochures. We had like a whole brochure binder. Canucks were called for a too many men on the ice penalty. I loved Rob Williams' quip here. Philip Roenick and David Kampf were like, what's the problem? Play with 6 all the time back in the Olympics.
Very good. Missed that. It's very good.
Didn't 2 on the nose, Rob.
That's very good.
Tom Villander plays 19 minutes and 8 seconds, and Elias Pettersson plays 19 minutes and 34 seconds. There you go. You want to see that too, right? Minutes for the kids. Of course, there was no Tyler Myers last night, but they both played more than Buium.
Yeah, and Buium doesn't need to play a ton.
Well, he's also got the facial.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as Buium's getting 14 minutes, I'm fine.
So those young defensemen may have to play more anyways, but they're certainly going to have to play more if Myers is on the move out. Let's hear from the goal scorer last night. And I've enjoyed listening to Drew O'Connor this year as well. He's had a lot of opportunity to talk post-game because he's just had so many darn good games in the absence of good games from his teammates. Here's Drew O'Connor on all the trade talk that's encircling this team right now and on the possibility of saying goodbye to Tyler Myers.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It's that time of year when, it's not a fun time to be kind of thinking about what's happening with the team and, where guys might be going. But it's the reality of it, and we have to continue to show up and play with the guys that are in the room.
How difficult was it to not have Myers on the bench, especially late in that game, pushing to get the win? Yeah,
he's been a valuable part of this team for a long time, and especially we're in a tie game like that. He's a guy you want on the ice. So. And he's a leader and he's vocal, so it's definitely something you notice when he's not there.
Not so much in overtime.
Yeah.
You don't need him on the ice in overtime.
No. Chaos Giraffe. By the way, Chaos Giraffe and Tyler Myers, amongst the best nicknames that I have been a part of here in nearly 18 years now, I guess, for me covering this team.
2 chef's kiss nicknames right there.
I don't remember who came up with them, but those are absolutely divine. Like those are mid 20th century nicknames when nicknames were in their heyday, right?
Yeah. Well, it's good stuff. Not Mizey.
No, exactly. And I know some people call him that.
That's his actual nickname. I can't go Mizey. Come on.
And I wanted to show this. And for those of you who are not on visual platforms, Elias Pettersson coming to the bench in the third period, 10 minutes left of the tie game, and the head coach seems to have some pointed instructions for him, meets him there, speaks over 2 of his assistants and some other Canucks players directly to Elias. And I want to bring this up, Blake, because, first of all, Elias, last night was sort of the tale of his season encapsulated in a game. He gets an assist. He gets on the score sheet. He blocks 7 shots. So a hell of a lot of shots. But he doesn't put a single shot on goal.
No.
For the 8th time in 50 games this year. Yesterday morning.
20% of the time, he's not getting a shot on goal.
Yeah.
16, I guess.
Yeah. Yesterday morning, Adam Foote, and it flew below the radar, I felt. He said he was on Pettersson to pick up the pace in practice coming back from the Olympics. And then later in the answer talked about how he was on everyone. But he name-checked Petey in particular. A few weeks ago, you may remember, there's a cryptic comment from Foote, and I don't exactly remember what was said, but it was it had the two of us going, does Elias Pettersson think he's achieved so much that he doesn't have to do X, Y, Z? Again, I can't remember the exact specifics. We spent the better part of the last fortnight killing, what's his name? Sam Hallam.
I think it's Sam Hallam, but it's more fun to say Sam Hallam.
The Swedish head coach for not playing Petey, and there was a good case to play Petey more. maybe Sam Hallam was the most recent coach to go, this guy just doesn't listen. He's not coachable. He's hard to reach. He wants to be left alone. And so guess what? You're not going to play power play. Guess what? You're going to play third line or fourth line, as he was at different times for Sweden. Adam Foote is not a demonstrative guy, as we've learned through the last, 5 months here. Adam Foote is not like his mentor, Rick Tocchet, in terms of occasionally calling a player out, right? Publicly. Rick did that a little bit. Adam has not gone to that well.
And I don't know if that was calling out what we saw there, by the way.
but for me, Blake, when the head coach meets the star player at the gate, speaks over a couple of assistants and the team specifically to the star player, would-be star player, that's irregular in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, but
typically the coaching of your star player is done when you bend down and you whisper something into his ear. Maybe you save the tough stuff for behind closed doors in the video sessions. But it was clear that Foote was waiting for Pettersson to get to that gate.
Yeah, maybe.
And I might be on too high alert. My radar might be picking up things that are a little more innocuous than what they look like with this guy. But we're talking about him potentially. Yesterday we asked the last best chance to trade Pettersson 1 week to the deadline. Renewed interest in him. There's chatter out there that, okay, maybe over the course of the Olympics he's come to some sort of idea of it's time to change scenery, a fresh start would be better, whatever the case may be. But how many, because do you think Adam Foote's going to be back next year? I don't think he is. So you're going to keep Pettersson and have another head coach come in here?
I think it's possible that he is back next year because they just have no expectations on next year.
And they don't want to pay another head coach?
Yep.
In a rebuild?
I think that's,
you're probably right.
I think that's possible. My bigger question on Pettersson is this. If the Canucks try to trade Pettersson, is there anybody in the league that will trade for Elias Pettersson at full price?
Yes.
Yeah, you think so?
Bad money has to come back, but yes.
And bad money for how long? Like
the next 1 to 3 years, Blake, you can absolutely stomach bad money.
That's fine, but I don't know.
No, but if you get 2-3 years down the road, 11.6 is going to look way more digestible with the cap jumps.
And again, if you can tell me he's getting me at least 65 points, I'm fine. The question is, do people truly believe you can get him back to 65 points a season?
I think there's a lot of teams out there. Like with Robert Thomas, if you perceive there's a potential first-line center available on the trade market amongst 31 GMs, Blake, I guarantee you there's a handful that are interested in adding that player.
Yeah, potentially. But the secret might be out on Elias Pettersson at this point.
Oh, I don't think there's more than a handful, if that, of coaches who want him. I think he is a boogeyman for coach. I think Tocchet spread that through the coaching circles. Unable to reach him. I think he's an absolute boogeyman for. I know someone who knows Patrick Waugh pretty well, and when the name Elias Pettersson was brought up in Patrick's orbit, he sort of had a rear back moment when he was speaking with my friend. Anyways.
Can you imagine, like, Patrick Laine and Elias Pettersson are both theoretically available right now? If you had told somebody that
Laine
4 or 5 years ago.
Laine, it's all the injuries, right? Like with Elias, it's not injuries. It's just where's his give a shit meter? Is he willing to work hard?
Would it surprise you
Foote
to learn?
mentioned practice habits again yesterday, Blake, in that answer when he talked about he got on him to pick up the pace. And again, it was in a more general way. But my God, if I hear Elias's name in an answer that has practice habits in it again. For years they've been messaging this.
Would it surprise you to learn that Patrick Laine's best years, points per game wise, are in Columbus?
Yeah. Well, we don't see a lot of Columbus, so no, it wouldn't.
He was pretty good there.
Yeah.
2 years
He
ago.
was great. But we did that draft, and some of the concerns that scouts had about Patrick Laine also came home to roost, right? That he was a little bit of an odd march to his own drum beat, big ego, didn't take it the most seriously, and all those things, right? Some of that has come home to roost. Okay, I wanted to get to this. Come back from the Olympics, typically teams have a ceremony for Olympians. We were wondering, okay, it's first home game in a while, and of course the first home game since the passing of the legendary Hall of Fame voice of the Vancouver Canucks, Jim Robson, and they did do a pregame video. You absolutely had to do a pregame video for the legendary Jim Robson. Of course, the broadcast gondola at Rogers Arena is named for Jim, and there it is. Blake and I worked there many, many years, did many, many shows up there, and there was a beautiful video tribute. Very well done. Miss him already. We mentioned those U.S. players who visited the White House after their night of partying in Miami, and the scrutiny on their performance in the first game back, especially for those teams who don't have time to bleed in the playoff race. Blake, did you see the Toronto Star and columnist Damian Cox, who broke out both barrels on Leafs captain Austin Matthews after he plays nearly 23 minutes and gets an assist, but the Leafs lose to Tampa 4-2. Cox writes, all he had to say was he understood the feeling of Canadians in these troubled times. He could have just skipped the White House nonsense and gone back to his day job as soon as possible, but Matthews preferred to be feted by a president who dismisses the very idea of Canadian sovereignty. For this, people will remember, as they will remember how Wayne Gretzky waffled when it mattered. And then he goes on to say, remember the Leafs took the C off Tavares. The guy who had the Leafs jammies and bed sheets and so desperately wanted to be their captain and was. They took it off him to give it to Austin Matthews. Oh, boy.
And incidentally, Tavares, the lone bright spot perhaps in the game last night that maybe was the final nail in their playoff coffin, is they were just terrible versus the Lightning as well last night. So, I mean, they are in panic mode there in Toronto as they realize that this core is not headed towards contending status.
Yep.
Matthews is in a particularly interesting position when it comes to what happened because he is the captain of Team USA, and the captain skipping out on that would have been a heck of a statement.
And that is very fair. That is very fair.
Like a bunch of guys didn't go, but it's one thing for the captain to not go.
The answers from Jake Gensel and Jake Ottinger were magnificent. Ottinger said, look, I didn't play a lot during the Olympics. We've got a big stretch of games here to prep ourselves for the playoffs and a cup run. I wanted to get back and work on my game.
Yeah.
And said all the right things about it's an honor to be present. Gensel said the same things as well. He's like, hey, look, we had a game tonight. I've been away from my family for 2 weeks. I felt it most appropriate. And, of course, he came back from Miami, a little puddle jumper to Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was this photo. It's caught our eye as well. Our old friend Alex Blair here had this. Look at that. It would appear that Canucks chairman Francesco Aquilini was taking in some of the hockey action from Milan. That is, of course, FBI Director Kash Patel, the USA hockey fanboy behind him. I'm not sure who that lady on the left is or the gentleman in the foreground, but here you go. Frankie made the trip.
Interesting company. I don't think they're together. But
no, I think those are just. I think those were assigned seats, not a. That's what I first thought. I was like, Aquilini was in the U.S. box.
Well, it looks like Kash Patel's standing. To be honest, I think it looks like there's a mezzanine.
Well, he's nervous, right? He was pacing. I'm sure. Yeah.
No, he always looks like that.
Yeah. And lastly, Joel Quenneville becomes just the second coach to reach 1,000 victories in the National Hockey League. Did so last night as Anaheim came back to beat Edmonton. You see, Delta's Tristan Jarry got the hook.
Yeah.
Edmonton may still have a goaltending.
Last night was not a triumphant return to NHL hockey for the two teams with the biggest spotlights on them in Edmonton and Toronto. Both of them laid eggs last night, and there will be ramifications.
Well, at least Edmonton has some cushion, right? Like Edmonton's not worried about missing the playoffs per se, but I mean
That's
Leafs
not what they're
now,
about, though.
The Leafs are 6 back in the wild card, and they're they're even further than that because of the way Buffalo has played. In Edmonton's case, third in the Pacific as it stands right now.
That was just still lower than you'd expect.
And giving away games to Anaheim as well.
Losers of 4 in a row, and Matt, they're being judged on a can you win the cup bar, which with a new goalie, like now they've got a new goalie that has to prove he can even make it to the Stanley Cup final. Say what you want about Stuart Skinner, and I've said a lot about it. I did not have confidence in him. He did get them there.
That's fair.
And they don't know if the new guys can.
Yeah, and actually, if LA wins its games in hand, it's tied with Edmonton. So maybe they're not quite as cozy as I first portrayed them. Of course, the other coach with 1,000 victories is the legendary Scotty Bowman. And Joel Quenneville, I watched Scotty Bowman, and you, sir, know Scotty Bowman.
Well, of course, worked under Scotty himself. Scotty was still in the organization.
That's right. Chicago.
Yeah. There were some issues there.
Well, he had a sexual predator on his coaching staff and then didn't immediately address the matter because they had a cup to win.
Training staff, wasn't it? Training staff? Not coaching staff?
It was the video coach, I believe. All right. Let's get to our menu. It's brought to you by our friends at Greta, a fantastic spot for your next event, whether you're booking a office party, team party, family reunion, whatever the case may be. They have a delicious menu of unpretentious food you'll absolutely love. Try the Smash Burger. They have an arcade that encircles the bar with a game for everybody. They got a private riser in the back. Go to gretabar.com. Check out what else they got or to book your events. Fantastic spot to pregame or postgame as well because you're mere steps from the arena or stadium. Greta, 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. David Pagnotta, as mentioned, coming right up. After that, Whitecaps center back Tristan Blackman, the MLS Defender of the Year. He's got a new contract to stay here in Vancouver. Going to love what he says about our city. And then later we'll go over the Caps' victory against CS Cartagenas last night at BC Place and CONCACAF Champions Cup action. They've got a big one on Saturday against Canadian rival TFC. Soccer news from the FIFA World Cup and going to Mexico after the events of this week. Max Scherzer is back with the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll get to all of that later in the show. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. We both had the Canucks to win on the money line yesterday, so we're both big losers there. I am going – so Philly lost last night, the Flyers. And that's another team that doesn't have a lot of time to bleed here in terms of where they stand vis-a-vis the playoff chase. So you have to think Tocchet is pissed off. You know that Travis Sanheim is pissed off because he's got silver for Canada, not gold. You have to think Travis Konechny's pissed off because he didn't even make the team after making the Four Nations team. And they go into the Garden where the Rangers have been deplorable, can't score a goal, and where Miller and Trocheck are coming back from the victory tour. I'm getting them at plus value. Give me the Flyers to win against the Rangers at plus 120.
I'm taking angry Oilers. Connor McDavid just got dealt a big blow at the Olympics. He comes back and endures that.
So angry.
I think there's going to be one of those closed door,
I'm with you,
quote unquote, speeches from Connor McDavid. It's a pick 'em on the money line.
Where are they?
In LA.
Yeah.
Oilers minus 1.5, though, is plus 220. It's a big number.
This segment or presentation of Bet365, whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. David Pagnotta on the Tyler Myers trade coming up. Secure some price from the historic Wall Center.
I am so hungry, and it is going to be very difficult for me to get through the talking points of this pizza read today.
I am satiated. We had pizza last night.
Did you really? Oh, now it makes it
She
even
was
more
out
painful.
getting her nails done. She said, "What do you think about pizza?" I said, "Only if it's pizza." She said, "There's one down the block."
Well, it just started, so you may not have known about the volcano dipper. You pull, rip, and dip your slice into a molten volcano-shaped center filled with the famous creamy garlic sauce that you can get only at Pizza.
This is the evolution of pizza.
It's like it's a charcuterie board
That's fun for the
made
kids.
of pizza.
Absolutely. Think of the fun the kids are going to have. Dipping into the molten volcano-shaped center.
It's the perfect app for creamy garlic lovers. Check it out at Pizza.
As we welcome in David Pagnotta of the Fourth Period, editor-in-chief, of course, with Irf Gafar Wednesdays on the Daily Faceoff Insider Edition. Full disclosure, we are recording this shortly after 10 a.m. Pacific time. And David, the hot topic here in Vancouver, what can you tell us about where things stand with Tyler Myers?
Well, guys, he's evaluating his options right now, and the offer on the table is from the Detroit Red Wings. It's a second-round pick for Myers, and he's got to decide if he wants to waive it or not.
David, do you know if that second-round pick is here in 2026? The Wings own their second-round pick.
They do. I don't know the year. I would imagine that would be the ask, that it would be as immediate as they can. But that's what's on the table, or that's what's enticed Vancouver to Myers and his camp for them to evaluate. There are other teams in the mix. There are other teams that have been poking around since last week about Tyler Myers, and early this week when word started to spread around the league that Vancouver was considering. So I would anticipate there are a lot of teams that are looking at adding a right shot defenseman, and you can add Dallas to the mix, Tampa to the mix, Boston, Edmonton, and so on. How many of those clubs have checked in and have entered the mix for Myers? I'm not sure. It's not all of them. And Edmonton's not one of them, by the way. Utah was another team that's also looking around. I'm told Utah's not in the mix here either. But there are other teams that have expressed interest in Tyler Myers, and he's just going to take his time to try to determine what the next step is for him, what's best for him and his family, and then go from there. The fact that his no movement clause, shifts to a 12-team no trade list, July 1 factors in a little more say and control now versus what may come after July.
Is it our understanding this is the best offer, or it's just the best offer for Tyler Myers?
I would imagine this is the best current offer on the table. It's enough for them to have gone to him with. I think there have been other discussion points with the teams. I don't know which ones specifically, but for them to go to Myers, you've got to basically say, okay, we're comfortable in pulling this off. So maybe it is this year, and maybe the other teams are offering a third else to that extent. But right now, it's kind of in the hands of Tyler Myers to determine what he wants to do, at the very least with respect to Detroit. And that offer that's currently here. He's
an interesting specimen. There's a lot of defensemen I'm sure that'll end up being available in the next 10 days, but not many are 6'7", 6'8", and have that experience. I mean, I don't know that there's going to be a massive bidding war for Tyler Myers, but I wouldn't be surprised if a couple teams do, lance a little bit over the ability to land him.
Well, and he fits the mold just stylistically for a lot of teams that, like Dallas, for example, use them. Like when they brought in Chris Tanev a couple of years ago, that's the type of presence that they wanted on their back end. They wanted to have somebody that's a bigger body that isn't afraid to throw the body around and is stable in his own zone and is that type of player. They don't need the puck mover per se. They need the stability in their own zone, and that's what they got there. They got some of that as well last season when they added Cody Ceci to the lineup, and then again this year, that's what they're looking. So I could see that being a team that is engaged with Vancouver for Myers' services. Does that escalate? Again, depend on what happens here with the Wings.
David, do you know The agent here is J.P. Barry, if I'm not mistaken, on
Yes.
Tyler Myers. Yeah. Do you know if Detroit would be on that 12-team no-trade list that kicks in after July 1st?
I don't. And I think they thought, Myers' camp thought, that they were going to have more time to determine this scenario. They don't have to submit their list until July 1, or really until it's requested, depending on the language of their contract. But I think they thought they had more leeway and more runway, but starting to seriously consider this, because teams had asked about Tyler Myers earlier on in the season. The notion at the time was, no, he's not waiving. We've talked about this actually earlier on in the season, and every message that I got was, no, he's not willing to consider it. Now, given how the season has played out, given the direction of the team now, and what's going to happen come July with his contract, it does escalate things and certainly sped things up, I think, more than they anticipate, or sooner than they anticipated. And that's why they're giving this consideration right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, of course, what Tyler Myers faces come July 1st is the potential that he gets moved to a less desirable location than Detroit if they're not on his 12-team no-trade list. We know that Tyler lives here and lives in Kelowna, so he's a full-time British Columbian all season long. We also know Tyler and his wife have a child with special medical needs, so I imagine that is going to be important for him wherever he may land for the next season and a half. Do you know if there's anything else important to him, like his proximity, Western Conference? I know some NHL families are big on direct flights, right? Not having to connect somewhere. That way they can always get to the game for 7 p.m. But do you know what else is important in the Myers camp in terms of destination here?
Before I knew it was Detroit, the notion I was getting was the preference is to stay as west as possible. Now, obviously, the Wings possess, they're not close, but they also possess different opportunities here with a growing team. There is a need for this caliber player on that blue line. They've been fishing for a right shot type of guy for some time. And so that's going to lead to ice time and opportunity on in-game situation. And it also gives them an opportunity to compete for in the playoffs. Like, they're a wild card team right now, but they're tied with the Habs and Buffalo in terms of points. I think they've played one more game than the Canadians, but there's still a long runway for the rest of the season on their end. So I'm sure that's all being taken into account. And that's probably why they're waiting a little bit to see if another Western team steps up, or to have you step up and say, actually, we like this player too. Here's what we're willing to do. Ultimately, it comes down to what Rutherford and Alvin are willing to accept in terms of a return, but that's going to factor in a little bit, and that's, I think, why they don't want to rush this per se. They may find out later today or tomorrow or whenever that this is really the only option, and then they'll adjust accordingly if that's the case. Or there's another option, but it's a lesser option, and again, they'll have to adjust. But for the time being, they just want to hold off and see if other opportunities do arise.
I can understand why the Myers camp wants to wait. I can understand why the Vancouver Canucks would be in no rush here, but I would have to think that Steve Yzerman is going to say this offer expires at a certain point. David, is there any risk of this offer falling off the table?
No, certainly, especially now that it's out. Sorry. But Steve likes to keep things close to the vest. There's not a lot that comes out of Detroit's camp. And when it does, it's not met with the biggest embrace. So I've got to imagine that there is some type of deadline in place, at least from their perspective, because, even if, let's say 5 days from now, Myers says, okay, yes, I want to make this happen. Well, over those 5 days, we could see 3, 4, 5 other trades that impact what Detroit may end up doing ahead of the deadline. So it's a bit of a catch-22 scenario where they like the player, they'd like to execute this right away, but at the same time, they're giving him the respect of time to make a decision for him and his family. But again, other options. And again, you wait 5 days and he says, then you may lose opportunities as well and other options that may become available. So I can't imagine the Wings want to sit back and say, we'll give you till the 6th. I've got to imagine there's some type of timeline that's been put in place here. I don't know what it is. But just from a business perspective and them trying to make moves, there's got to be some type of window here. And if they get past it, it closes. Detroit can move on to see what other options are available.
From a Myers standpoint, something close by in division would be ideal. The Canucks aren't worried about in division trades at this point. They're not contending for a couple of years, and Tyler Myers will be probably retired by that point. But a lot of people are hoping to connect him to the Oilers, give him a chance to win a Stanley Cup. But reports say the Oilers are not interested. But there's no in division worry here, is there?
Not with respect to Myers. I don't think with respect to most guys. Really, it's the only one that I've gotten some pushback on or hesitancy on has been Elias Pettersson.
Yeah.
So if it's a team like LA or a team like Seattle that tries to make this happen, there is concern, if he blows up back into the player, an 80, 90-point guy, then, you're going to have to see that a little more regularly. But at the same time, I think there's the consensus that, maybe he becomes an 80, 90-point guy, but it's not going to happen here.
Others think there's momentum. Others think there's momentum there. Do you concur with that there's Elias Pettersson momentum?
Yeah, there's everything that I've been, and then to what degree I'm not sure, but the conversations, I'd say in the last week, Thursday, so around Thursday of last week is when some conversations with a number of teams started to pick up league wide, and started to get the ball. For example, I know it's a minor trade, but just to give you an example, the first trade that happened after the freeze between the Blues and the Islanders, Matt Luff for Julien Gauthier, that was agreed on Saturday or Friday or Saturday. And then they had to wait until the freeze was lifted before moving forward. So conversations across the board have definitely picked up starting on Thursday. At least that's the indication that I've been given. And I think on Petey's front, it's kind of followed that as well with teams like LA, like Seattle, like I think Detroit to a certain extent, Carolina as well. And I'm sure there are others that are poking around to see if this is something that they can viably put in place over the next 8 days.
You have also been busy on the Jake DeBrusk file this week. David, what do you know? What can you tell us about Jake DeBrusk?
Yeah, there's a willingness to make that happen. I think there's been a loose conversation about it as well. And I think there's a willingness on the player side to accept a shift based on, again, how this team is now moving forward. And I think that goes across the board. I'm going to add Connor Garland to the mix as well. The willingness to go in this direction has definitely picked up in the last week. I think on both of their fronts, those conversations have picked up. And there are teams that have interest in this caliber player, specifically with regards to DeBrusk and what he's capable of. I think a lot of people understand that while some guys are having decent number-esque type, others should be having better ones. And it's just you're a casualty of your surroundings, similar to everybody pooping all over the St. Louis Blues and some of their players going into Olympics, Binnington this, Binnington that. Well, look what he's capable of doing when he's got A, pressure cooker situation, and B, some better players in front of him. It affects your numbers when you are losing consistently, and it's affected some of the guys on the Canucks as well. But I think some teams recognize the talent and recognize that a change of scenery would do them justice, and I think some of the players recognize that too, including DeBrusk.
I've seen it heard or mentioned the Canucks do have the appetite to move a defenseman and to move one forward, one winger with term. Do you think that's sort of the allowance, the leash that they've allowed themselves, or do you think they could get a little bit more widespread if the right opportunities come their way? How many studs do they want to expose in this renovation here?
I think if the returns are good, they'll expose as many as they can. I don't think there's any restriction with respect to, how many moves they would be comfortable in explaining between now and the trade deadline. I think it's the understanding is there after Alvin confirmed the rebuild, not the quasi rebuild, not the whatever other terms were used, retool and the hyphenated terms. I think it's a full on rebuild recognized, and if they can replicate, and it's not going to be the same type of return they got for Quinn. But if they can replicate that level of talent in some of these moves, that includes Pettersson, Garland, DeBrusk, and whomever else, then that's where their appetite lies. And if that means moving out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, they'll do it. So I don't think there's a restriction in that respect. I think it all comes down to the type of return they can generate for these guys that fits the mold of rebuild that they're going in, related one based on the return for Quinn. But it's going to follow that similar model. And if they can achieve that, they'll move out as many guys as they need to.
Fans have put Marcus Pettersson in the conversation, but really it has not come up a ton. Have you heard that at all, Marcus Pettersson?
No, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard, Hronik. Some guys have to stay. You got to fill a roster too. But at the same time, like, there's value in some of those guys. So yes, you are going through a rebuild, but you've got guys under control, and you can argue that maybe this is the prime, or they're entering their prime, or whatnot. But look, again, if the right offer comes along, as I mentioned earlier, some of these guys are a little more difficult to move because of their no trade protection. And DeBrusk has that as well. But again, I think there's a willingness to explore the opportunity. But I personally haven't heard Pettersson, and I think some teams have asked about Filip Hronik, but I don't think that's something the Canucks are overly eager to do.
Was retool it a little bit in a hybrid form, to quote Patrick Elvey,
Right.
on that one unfortunate day.
Yes.
Who's in on Garland? Do you know who's in on Garland? Who's looking for that profile or who's looking for that profile player?
Well, yeah, definitively in terms of Garland specifically, I don't know, and I don't want to just say that it's this team or that team, but the teams that are looking for that caliber player include the Boston Bruins. And the Boston Bruins have had interest in Garland in the past. They are actively looking for a top six winger. And they've got some young pieces that they're willing to move, not just, some draft picks. They've got some young pieces that I believe they're willing to move. And Poitras is one of them. So maybe that's a piece that entices a team like Vancouver. Maybe it entices another team that has a top six guy available or caliber player available. Boston's one of the teams actively looking for a top six winger. And based on having interest in the past, wouldn't surprise me if they circle in again. But in terms of caliber, the Bruins are looking for something along those lines. Carolina's always looking, certainly, to take a bit of a swing. We know the LA Kings are looking to add another forward, even before the Fiala stuff, and Pettersson aside. They are looking to add another forward to their mix that's not necessarily an exclusive finisher, but somebody that's a puck possessor and can dictate play a little bit and has a little bit of a playmaking regimen to him. And complement an overall line. So those are some of the teams that are looking to add another top six guy.
And Garland is from suburban Boston, we should point out.
He is.
Lastly, things seemingly have gone pretty quiet on the Evander Kane front, despite his willingness for a trade. Do you think his agent, Dan Milstein, is going to be able to get this done and find him a home, David, by next Friday?
He's been trying. And he's been engaged in this. I think with everything else going on at the Canucks and some of these other teams that are looking at additional options, even outside of Vancouver, view Evander Kane as a plan B, C, D kind of situation. We know that Vancouver's willing to retain on that contract. And I think they're willing to go up to 50% on it. But again, I think this is more of, and I think the options are there, but the options again are based on some of these teams viewing him as a secondary, third, fourth option. And if they can't land one of their other ones, then they'll potentially circle back and get re-engaged with Evander Kane. But I think the Canucks know their options. I think the other teams know that he is an option, but they're just trying to go and fish in a different pond at the moment.
That is marvelous stuff. Is there anything we've missed? Is there anything further you wanted to ask?
Finally, meat on the bone.
Yeah.
David Pagnotta, you'll want to read him on the fourth period, and you certainly want to listen to him and Irf Gafar Wednesdays on the DFO Insider Edition. We're a week out. Can't wait till next week already, David. Appreciate this.
Absolutely. Hopefully we get a few more deals to talk about, too.
Secure some price from the historic Wall Center. Our next guest is the MLS Defender of the Year, voted the best defender in the league by a panel of executives just this week. He's got the best fit on the team, if not the league. And he's got a contract extension that's going to keep him with the club for several years. Here is Tristan Blackman. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys.
You're more welcome. You like the fit part the best in that introduction, huh?
I don't know about that. I won't claim that, but I appreciate the shout out. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, even Kaylin Kyle told us that when we had her on last year during the playoffs. Talk to me about the contract extension. Tell me what it's like to be locked up and done that bit of business.
Oh yeah, extremely happy that it's all settled now. It's hard to leave a city like this, feel so comfortable here. My family feels settled. So I'm really excited that it's all done now. So.
Were there some sketchy moments there? Was there a moment within the last 6 weeks where you wondered about the future here in Vancouver?
I think my intent was always to be here. So at the end of the day, business works how it does, and I'm just happy that we all got to a place where we could sit down and figure everything out. But at the end of the day, this is where I want to be, and I'm so happy that not just me, but my family, we get to extend our stay here because we've really fallen in love with Vancouver. So.
Matt referenced that athletic poll that came out, and you were like overwhelmingly voted once again the defender, the best defender in Major League Soccer, which I think is a testament to you because sometimes players have career years and people just write them off as career years, and it doesn't appear that people think that was a career year for you. They just think that that's Tristan Blackman. So. How does that put pressure on you? Do you feel the burden now of having to live up to those expectations, or is it coming easier for you being playing as well as you are right now?
Yeah, no, I think obviously it feels nice to hear those comments. At the end of the day, I have to take care of business on the field. I've put myself in a good place where I'm starting to get recognition, and like I said, that feels nice. But at the end of the day, it's all stuff that's it's fairy dust at this point. Last year was last year. It was a great year. And I'm really proud of how the year went, not just for me, but for the team. But the intent is to do it again. So, we're off to a good start this year, and I'm looking to help the team as much as possible, if not more than last year. So.
It was just last month, Tristan, all these rumors down in Miami. Blackman's coming to Inter Miami. Some even said it was a done deal. Take me through that period. Where was your headspace at as you were watching and reading all that?
Yeah, I think obviously almost all of it was, in the media, which was an interesting thing to navigate because I haven't really been in that situation before. But no, I mean, obviously, after, career years, you would say it was the best year I've had so far professionally. I think teams come around. That's what's normal in this business. If you have a good year, teams are going to come around and kind of see what the situation is like. But at the end of the day, like I said early on, I'm so excited to be here. Obviously, Kubas got extended as well, and we have still such a strong group together. And that's what made us so good last year. So I feel, extremely grateful and blessed that I'm able to continue my stay in a place that I really care about. So
the year seems extra long when you go on that long of a run. Does it seem long for you guys? As you start up here, you're already,
Are you asking him about his 2-week off season?
Yeah, exactly. We can't believe it, but we're not the ones running around. What does it feel like for you guys to get back out there and just look in the distance to next MLS Cup and next Champions Cup final? You guys must be exhausted just thinking about it.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It was definitely the longest year of my career so far last year, but it's what you want. You get to multiple finals. And that's what you want. Every start of the year you talk about as a team. You get together in a meeting before any games have kicked off, and you say, these are the objectives we want to hit. And okay, last year, we fell short in a couple of finals, but we were there. We set out at the beginning of the year to get to a place where we were a team that people respected and talked about, and we showed, how good we could be when our core group and the people around us are really supporting us, the fans, the club. And I think the best thing we can do this year is try to replicate and do more. We know what it takes to get to those finals and be as good as we can possibly be. Now it's okay. How do you look at last year tinker with a couple things to get us over that hurdle, especially in the biggest moments. And that's what the biggest clubs do. And we feel we're right up there with everybody else in MLS. So.
I don't think it's about tinkering. It's about getting healthy. Like, you guys just love to have a long injured list. My goodness. Like, do you pinch yourself in sort of thinking about, like, what this team looks like? Like, you get to see Ranko. We don't. So it just feels like you guys haven't seen each other in months. But, you know, Ranko and Sam and Ryan Gauld and all, like, it's a great team if you could only get together.
Yeah, no. And that's the dark side of sports sometimes, right? Is, you know, you have players who miss time, unfortunately. But yeah, like you said, I mean, talk about Gauldy and the presence he has since he's been here. Ronco obviously is, you know, I think he has the most games as a Whitecap since being here by far. Sam, he has quality. Obviously, he's been in Europe and then he's come back and been unfortunate with injuries, but 100% agree. If we can keep, you know, everybody healthy, imagine what that could be like with all the struggles we had last year. Keeping everybody on the field is, I'm sure, a major priority this year. So.
Yeah, well, on topic there, Tristan, we were just talking the other day that, you know, last year towards the end of the year when you were hurt and, of course, Ranko were sitting there going, who's going to play center back? Now there's you. There's Ralph Priso after his transition. There's Ranko on the injury, coming back from the injury. There's Laborda who can play that spot. It seems like now you guys have enviable depth at that position, and that could be really important given how many games you played last year and given how many you're hoping to play.
And Bilal back too, and who was
that's right. Yeah, that you're looking to play this year. Talk to me. If it means fewer minutes for the MLS Defender of the Year this year because of depth, are you all right with that?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's always a coaching decision. Obviously, you want to be healthy as much as possible. That's everybody's goal. But when obviously those things happen, people step up, and if you're in form and you're doing well in training every week, you're showing in games, you're going to keep playing. You know, that's how it works. So obviously, I'm going to try to, you know, knock on wood, I'm going to try to be as healthy as possible all year. That's one of my goals every time I step into preseason is how can I get my body in the right place to make the long haul each year. But yeah, we have guys who, Ralph is a perfect example last year of a guy who stepped into a role that maybe he wasn't used to or comfortable with, but look at how he's flourished so far in such a short amount of time. So those are the guys you need in a team. And we have a lot of those guys who did that last year, and I'm sure we're going to have, you know, many that do the same this year.
Oh my goodness, yeah, we talked about it all last year, and already signs this year with Jeevan and the way he has played.
I was just going to ask him about him. Yeah,
well,
you got a good vantage point because as the play builds, you get to see it. You and Yohei have, you know, great vantage points for a player like that. What are you seeing out of this kid?
He's top talent, man. You just gotta. How do you engage him in the right way to keep him growing? And that's obviously the coaching staff and how we can help him as players on the team to, you know, guide him in the right way. But he already has such a good head on his shoulders. He works his butt off every single day. And proof is always in the hard work. You can't fake hard work. And he's put in the hard work since getting here, especially with the first team. And you see that. You see that on the field, how comfortable he is, how sharp he is on the ball. So it's going to be a player to watch for sure.
Tough question, my man, but I got to ask. A lot of rumors about the future of the club, right? It's for sale, looking for a stadium site here in Vancouver. Did that give you any pause during these contract negotiations? Did you sit down and talk with your family about, I'm just not sure where the club's going to be for the duration of this extension?
Yeah, to be honest, not really. Obviously, things are up in the air, but I mean, the club is obviously actively working on trying to figure out a solution. I'm not in those talks, you know, but my hope is that they can figure it out so Vancouver can be here long term. You know, I love this city. I wouldn't have extended here if I didn't love being here. And I mean, it's so funny because when I first came here, I was like, what's it going to be like in Vancouver? You know, I was tearing up at the airport with my parents when they dropped me off. I was like, Canada, you know, I have no idea what to expect. And it feels so nice to know that I've, you know, gotten to a place where I can extend my deal, but also, you know, if we can figure out how to keep the Whitecaps here, that would be, you know, so ideal. And it's such a beautiful city. Everybody who comes here, guys who I've been friends with around the league, they always say how beautiful it is to come play here and the experiences they have. So, yeah, that's the hope for sure.
Hey, on-field performance doesn't always save a franchise, but it would probably go. It's better to have than not to have.
Yeah.
So go win an MLS Cup, and that'll help.
That continues Saturday. Canadian Derby against TFC. What you up against, Tristan?
Yeah, good team. Obviously, they. I think they had they played Houston this past week, and I think they lost.
Looks okay.
So they're going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they scored goals. They look like they're figuring themselves out. Obviously, they have a new energy coming into the year. Still early, so we got to expect they're going to bring everything on the pitch. Obviously, know a few guys over there, but it's a big game this weekend, and we want to keep our rhythm rolling and, even make it better than it has been in the past few games. So, yeah, going to be a big matchup. Excited for it.
Well, as Baseball Cap says, all we have are memories. It's his buddy's company out of L.A. You sure created some for soccer fans in this community last year, Tristan. We look forward to many more this year. Thank you for the time. Congrats again on the extension.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center in the Nation Network studio, built by Arbor Lee. Game night turns into a game weekend here at the Wall Center. From puck drop to last call, everything you need right outside your door. Stay where the fans stay. wallcenter.com. Good stuff there with Tristan Blackman.
He's a beauty. A lot of fun.
Tell you what, that guy's got style. He's got panache.
The swagger on the pitch,
lot
too.
Of swag.
Like he played
dripping swag.
You know what? He is Kevin Bieksa on a soccer pitch.
You know what? Great call. Great comparison. Right down to the defensive side, right?
Yeah.
Caps beat CS Cartagenas 2-0 before just 15,517 at BC Place. Advanced to the round of 16 of the CONCACAF Champions Cup last night. They'll play Cascadia rivals Seattle Sounders FC. Leg 1 of that tie goes March 12th here at BC Place, and tickets are already on sale. Leg 2 goes March 18th, March 12th for us, March 18th at Spokane Stadium as the Sounders are taking their team and this game across the state into Eastern Washington.
Tweaking their field for the World Cup, so they needed another place to play. And they do actually have a great training stadium that they use for early U.S. Open Cup.
They have a practice
facility? They have
facility?
a practice facility, yeah. They've got a great little stadium that they use for U.S. Open Cup early round matches, but they wanted something maybe a little more substantial and to share the wealth, so they're going to Spokane, which is, kind of charming, but for the Caps' selfish purposes, they've got so much travel, such a long schedule. Probably be a hell of a lot easier just to jump on a 20-minute flight to Seattle. That'll only be 45 or an hour to Spokane, but that's that.
Can they fly there direct?
Well, they'll charter, I would guess, in this case. But that is the beauty of facing an MLS opposition and not an exotic in the second round here, is that they don't have to go to Central America.
Well, and especially the closest MLS team. So the Sounders are worth half of what the Canucks are worth, but they have a practice facility, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because the Spokane business got my headspace thinking. Would it behoove the Caps to play one of these matches in a smaller stadium somewhere in BC, given that these midweek non-league games are a little more difficult to sell? Less run-up?
They have to meet the criteria. Remember, these are CONCACAF-governed matches.
Yeah, but if little ramshackled stadiums all over Central America meet the grade,
this is a big stadium. This is a double-decker stadium. Like this is
Spokane?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's a big stadium. It's it's a modern amenity stadium. It's
okay, but you're telling me all the little stadiums in Central America that have teams that could play in this tournament, they measure up?
It's the best they have at the very least. And so if you're going to something that's not yours, like it has to be. Like the answer is yes. And I had a chat with Bobby Lenarduzzi about this in the dinner line last night.
How is Bob?
He's good. We both said we'd love this to be at Swangard, but it has to meet all the TV requirements and all that sort of stuff, right? So this is where another 10,000 seat stadium would be great.
Maybe Surrey will build one. Maybe UBC will build one.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. The Canadian Premier League has now got 1 win, 1 draw, and 14 defeats and never progressed beyond the opening round of this tournament. And they weren't the only minnows absolutely annihilated in round 1. The CPL League champion Atletico Ottawa lost 7-0 on aggregate to Nashville. FC Cincinnati beat a Dominican Republic side 13-0. And, of course, our very own Vancouver FC got trounced 8-0 by Cruz Azul. Do we need the first round of CONCACAF Champions Cup, or can we just progress to a 16-team tournament starting next year? It just seems like an awful lot of travel and games that aren't competitive for athletes that are already being asked to play the longest season in all of professional sports.
Yeah, it's a good shout. It's a lot to ask indeed. I don't see any need for it, and you're right, considering they've got the carbon footprint.
I love
even
the charm of FA Cup, where a little minnow, one game scenario could knock off a Premier League side. Happens every year. Wrexham's got Chelsea coming up right in the FA Cup. Single game scenario in an itty bitty country like England, where you're not having to travel very far. Love the David versus Goliath storyline. It's not working in this tournament.
Or you do this. You reduce the amount of slots for these level of teams, and you cut those slots in half, and they do their own bracket to win one of those two spots.
I saw Ben Steiner mention something like that. Or just eliminate them altogether. Mike, did you catch that? That was 2 good shouts in the opening 5 minutes of this block. Twice he agreed with me in 5 minutes on something soccer. It's a new record. Kenji Cabrera with his first as a Whitecap, Sebastian Berhalter are your goal scorers last night. We said the club would rely more on Cabrera this year. We said that last year after he got integrated, and we said that particularly after the trade of Jaden Nelson and the transfer of Ali Ahmed. Well, he and the other new acquisition winger, A.Z. Jackson, have already scored early in this season. So this Caps personnel department continues to make all the right calls. We mentioned Surrey's Jeevan Bodwal with Tristan. Started once again at attacking midfield in the Thomas Muller spot. The German legend came on at halftime, but in a holding midfielder position. That was interesting, as Bodwal played the full 90 minutes. And I saw Nathan Durek of the Terminal City Pod say Muller brought the intensity they needed. Nobody wanted to disappoint Dad after he came on for the second half, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had 70 at the time of this 2-0 goal for the match. Possession was 74% in the Whitecaps, so it was never like they were being pinned back, but they weren't scoring. And finally, they do get on the board when Muller enters. He hit the post twice himself, once off his head, once off his foot. So, yeah, he brought a panache that they needed.
Emmanuel Sabi, suspended for Saturday versus TFC, did not go the distance. He was subbed off for Andres Kubas, a more defensive posture to protect that lead. Kubas will miss the next CONCACAF game after.
That's the problem with that substitution. I'm surprised Sorensen goes through with that. He's
on a yellow. He's on a yellow.
It's a ridiculous rule. 2 yellows, you're suspended. Like, come on.
In a tournament like this.
But
newcomer Oliver Larraz got his first start in defensive midfield, and I saw social media grumbling about Brian White and his performance at striker. Hasn't scored in his last 6 matches going back to last season.
Yeah, he misses the pen, which isn't great. He misses a sitter of a header where he puts it right into the chest of the keeper. But I'll defend him in this regard. There's no service. Like, everything's coming from the wings. Or centrally, like there's not like he's heading balls wide and muffing shots that he's like in the league games. He's getting no service, so the buildup is just not the way that it was.
Give it some time.
In the early part of last year.
You're working with new wingers here again. Yeah. No Ahmed, no Nelson. Muller hasn't played as much as he was playing at the end of last year. And then lastly, we wondered after the events in Mexico on Sunday. About that country, or at least certain of the cities, Guadalajara in particular, as a site for World Cup games in June. Gianni Infantino, FIFA boss, quote, "We have complete confidence in Mexico. like in every country in the world, things happen. Johnny, things like that don't happen in Canada very often.
No.
We don't live on the moon or another planet. That's why we have governments, police, and authorities who will ensure order and security.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually texted with people that there's some retirees that I know that have places down there. And to be fair, 2 different couples that I know that live down there I texted with.
It looks more dramatic on social
Yes.
media.
They said, honestly, it's nothing. Like they said, we feel
it's not nothing.
But that was their words.
No,
that was
but
their words.
No, but when an armed gang puts up roadblocks and burns down buildings or vehicles, that's not nothing.
I'm telling you, from their perspective, they did not encounter
the Mexican
anything.
military to go in to quell this, so that's not nothing. What I will say, I mean, we said this at the World Cup draw. If there is a sports governing body out there that knows how to deal with dictators, it's FIFA and Gianni Infantino. If there is a sports governing body that knows how to deal with civil unrest, it is also FIFA.
Yeah.
Max Scherzer is back with the Blue Jays after some lobbying by his 8-year-old daughter. Did you see this story? It's a 1-year deal for $3 million with incentives that could be $13 million, and this comes after the Jays' decisions to manage the workloads of starting pitchers Shane Bieber and Trey Savage. After starting Game 7 of the World Series last year, Scherzer said, quote, "There's no way that was my last pitch." So he's coming back for a 19th MLB season before making his way to Cooperstown. The Scherzers were the poster family for how much that Jays clubhouse loved each other and Toronto last year, flipping the script for a market that had fallen in the eyes of ball players and agents. And in December, 8-year-old Brooke Scherzer wrote the team a letter and asked her mom, Erica May Scherzer, to mail it to the team. There you go, Blake. I'm so sorry that you didn't win the World Series. I hope you win it next time. I hope my dad is back on the team. My whole family loves spending time in Toronto with our dad. We love the aquarium. And, of course, the stadium. I'm looking forward to coming back next season.
The aquarium's right next to the stadium. I'm guessing she spent a lot of time there. And now they are going back to the season. And it is a deal. And, you know, a lot of other leagues have some contract structuring that just makes sense. And you can't do this deal in the NHL.
Gary doesn't like this stuff.
No, but it does make sense. And basically, once he gets to 65 innings pitched, every 10 innings gets $1 million.
Well, for a 40-year-old starter, yeah, absolutely makes sense. And we were saying, like, 65 innings in today's day and age is like 12 starts. So that's like a third of what you would do if you're taking a regular turn in the rotation. So here's how the Jays rotation now looks. Kevin Gausman returning as the ace, although big free agent signing Dylan Cease could well be the ace. He's going to settle in up top there. The Korean League newcomer, Cody Ponce, remember they signed him as well. Former ace Jose Barrios, who says he's now healthy. All good to go for opening day. Now, Chris Bassett is in Baltimore. Bowden Francis is out for the season. Eric Lauer remains, and he did great work filling in last summer. And now you add Scherzer to that mix. So it looks like another pretty good and deep rotation for the Jays.
Yeah, and so maybe I'm back to saying, like, if you have all these guys, Matt.
6-man rotation.
6-man rotation.
Yep.
Just keep everybody happy and healthy.
Yep. Some bad news for the Jays at camp as relief pitcher Che Yeager is headed for surgery. He will miss the season. Yeager pitched for the C's last year. He may have the biggest fastball in the organization. He hit 99 miles per hour on radar guns, and he became a bit of a cult hero. There was a fascination with the fans in Nat Bailey Stadium last year, especially the young ones who were watching that radar gun and hoping to see triple digits on the fastball, right? So anyways, wish him well. C's home schedule starts April 7th. Get your tickets, 604-872-5232 or canadiansbaseball.com. And lastly, good on Canadian Josh Naylor, the first baseman for the Seattle Mariners, who earlier this week in a spring training game, he stepped to the plate and he shook the hand of the home plate umpire. And people are going, what's going on? Well, the home plate umpire was Jen Powell. She made history last season becoming the first woman to umpire in the big leagues. That was in August. And Naylor wanted to greet her and congratulate her. And when asked why he made that irregular gesture, he said, "Kindness is free. I just made sure to introduce myself and make her feel comfortable and that she's welcome because she is. I want to be inclusive with everyone, no matter race, no matter gender, really where you're from, what language you speak. It's not hard to be inclusive and welcoming and happy. I think that could change the world."
Although apologies to her, you've picked a really awful time to debut as a Major League Baseball umpire in what will be maybe the penultimate season of Major League Baseball umpires. Have you seen the accuracy?
I saw one umpire missed, three pitches?
3 in 1 inning.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, the challenges are going to expose some
Now, here's the
faults.
thing. They may go to automatic balls and strikes. You still need umpires to make the calls on the bases, including home plate.
You do.
Results of the Yellow Dog poll question from yesterday. We asked, is this the last best chance to trade Elias Pettersson? People said?
I think people are anxious to make it happen. So I think they said yes.
Correct percentage?
58.
66. Leonard, the last best chance already passed by. Burry's Flow, no, at the draft would be. We talked about this yesterday. At the draft, theoretically brings in more suitors because everybody's a contender and more cap space available. Rob, the siding guy, absolutely asinine if they don't jump on it. He's slowly becoming Louis Eriksson 2.0, but he's way too talented for that. So jump on it now before it's too late. Okay.
Bringing up Louis, is there another, let's say this is just Elias Pettersson going forward. Let's say he's a 50, 55 point. Is there a comparable for the biggest whoopsie contract ever besides Eriksson and Pettersson? Huberdeau, maybe?
Well, no, but at least Huberdeau scores, Blake. You have to go find guys who don't score at all. And yes, there are some. I would have to come to mind. None right off.
Huberdeau's got 10 goals in 50 games.
How about Trent Frederick right now in Edmonton? He's got three points all season. He signed an 8-year deal.
Matt, only once in the last 4 seasons has Huberdeau crested 20 goals. He doesn't score.
No, but he scores 50 points, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, well. Frederick has 3 points this year. He signed an 8-year deal.
That's pretty bad. And what's the cap hit there? 4?
Yeah.
It's not as lucrative, but yes. I mean, for the Canucks to have 2 of the most infamous.
What about Jeff
deals.
Finger? Remember that July
Jeff
1st,
Finger,
Leafs give fans the finger?
Yes. Right.
Okay, errors and omissions. And yesterday I said, of all the things Trump has done, his list of honorees for the sports honorees for the Presidential Medal of Freedom might be the top of my list in terms of what I agree with. Blake, listen to the appointees by Trump. Babe Ruth, Roger Staubach. Complete misses to that point. Roger Staubach, a naval hero, played at the U.S. Naval Academy, won the Heisman, delayed his NFL career to serve his country in Vietnam. Babe Ruth, perhaps the biggest sports star of the 20th century. He's there with Jordan and with Muhammad Ali, right? So those 2 huge omissions until Trump. Bob Cousy opened the door for the little guy to play basketball, right? Part of those Celtics dynasties. Tiger Woods. No argument here. Wrestling legend Dan Gable. Go to Iowa in the Midwest. They're still wearing Dan Gable t-shirts. Babe Zaharias, pioneering golfer, century ago. Roger Penske, the most successful open-wheel racing chief in American motor racing. Then you get into ones that are a little bit more questionable.
All right, do tell.
College football head coach Lou Holtz, who is a big Trump supporter. So I think that has a lot to do with cronyism. He ranks somewhere in the 30s for all-time coaching victories.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure Holtz would have made the grade with others. Then a whole bunch of non-Americans. I thought this was America first, Trump. Gary Player, South African. Annika Sorenstam, who's lived in Florida forever, but is a Swede. Mariano Rivera, Trump's a Yankees guy, right? Panamanian, but baseball's all-time best closer. And now Connor Hellebuck, who Americans continue to have the discussion like it's hilarious. You're giving him the medal for one game? It's like, well, no, he's had a terrific hockey career, just not in an American market.
I guess the question would be like, what's the rate of awarding athletes anyway? Like, it's not the Hall of Fame. Like, is that just too many? Like, what's his rate versus the rates of other presidents?
I have that here.
Do you? Wow.
Yes, I have that here. Just give me a second.
Presidential Medal of Freedom.
It is very comparable with Barack Obama. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, Obama was like 12. Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Vin Scully, Willie Mays, Yogi Berra, Charlie Sifford, golf pioneer, Dean Smith, and Pat Summitt, the basketball coaches, Bill Russell, Ernie Banks, Stan Musial, Billie Jean King. That was Obama's list.
In 8 years, though. 12 and 8 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Trump's got a few years left here. George W. Bush was a little more discerning. Hank Aaron, Roberto Clemente, another non-American. John Wooden, Arnold Palmer, Muhammad Ali, Frank Robinson, Jack Nicklaus, and Buck O'Neill, the legendary Negro Leagues player.
And how many does Trump have right now? You said a dozen from Trump?
So
he's tied with Obama in 3 fewer years. Is that right?
Yeah. So he may exceed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 12 from Trump so far.
And 12 for Obama in 8 years. So,
It may have been a little bit more from Obama. Clinton was just one. Arthur Ashe. George H.W. Bush was just one. Ted Williams.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan was 3.
I mean, that's a little lean, but again, like all these people have Hall of Fames to aspire to. I don't know the governments need to be in the business of this, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Again, don't bring politics into sports. What do you mean? Politics brings sports into politics themselves.
Well, I didn't give you Biden's list. I didn't do Biden.
Let's think about it.
Biden was short too. Small list. Simone Biles, Megan Rapinoe, Katie Ledecky, Magic Johnson, and Lionel Messi? In what world would you give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
Because he came,
He's
I guess.
He's played 2.5 years in the United States. He's made no cultural impact in the country. And he doesn't even speak the language. He's not even addressed the American people. Certainly not in English.
No. That's an interesting choice.
In fact, Biden's list might be the worst.
He should have said, if you stay for 6 years, then I'll give you one.
Well, at least let him retire. And maybe if he retires and starts a charitable foundation in South Florida or something like that. But he's just going back to Argentina after a retirement few years in Miami. It's unworthy.
Here's something I have not been able to prove or disprove. You know the Adidas ad? I think it's Adidas, where he and Steph Curry or Mahomes, who's he's running beside? I think it's Mahomes, are running beside each other on treadmills, and they're messing with each other's treadmills. Go look at the editing of that. I don't think the two of them were in the same room.
Oh, probably not.
I don't think they could book them.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Like the way it's edited, I think it's stand-ins every time. You only see really one of them on the screen at one time.
The next president should campaign on revoking Messi's Presidential Medal of Freedom. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time and connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to our assorted channels, YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. It's free. It costs you nothing. Follow on social. That's also free. It costs you nothing. X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.